Hi, my name is LaKesha Johnson. I am 33 years old. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am a wife to a wonderful husband. We've been together since I was 15 years old, so we've been together for 17 years, married 7, and I have the most amazing, wonderful, bright 4-year-old son. I'm doing this video today because I need help. I need a lot of help. There is something in my life that is trying to claim it. There is something in my life that's trying to destroy me, trying to take everything that I've ever worked for, trying to steal my joy, trying to steal my smile, and most importantly, trying to steal my footprints. It's mean, it's devastating, it's unpredictable, it's just downright bad. I wouldn't wish this on even my worst enemies. I don't wish this thing, this disease, on anyone else. Its name is multiple sclerosis. Just by saying the name, it doesn't sound harmful, but when you really understand the impacts that this disease has, there's no words that can explain how just devastating it is. Let me start off. Hopefully I won't babble too much. I was clinically diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 27 years old. So a little over 6.5 years ago. Many people ask, well, start from scratch. What happened? Well, it was Easter. I went and had a pedicure, went to a spa, and I had a pedicure and a manicure done. Didn't think anything of it, A couple days later, after the pedicure, which was an amazing pedicure, I must say, where they massage your feet, they do the scrubbing, they do the whole 9 yards. It was awesome. But 2 days later, I started having some tingling symptoms in my toes. And I'm thinking, great, was I allergic to something they put in that water? I mean, I've had pedicures before. I mean, it's just, the little scrubby bath stuff. So, I took some Benadryl. I'm thinking, the tingly, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just allergic reaction. So I took the Benadryl. A couple days later, it was still there. And this time now it's spreading both feet, all my toes, and now it's spreading on the bottom of my foot. I'm like, something is not right. I don't know what happened, but something's weird going on. So I contacted my general practitioner. I went in to see her. She said, you know what? I don't see any type of allergic reaction. There's no itching or anything going on with it. And she said, sometimes when they do massages, sometimes when they massage in certain areas, they're hitting critical nerves on your foot. And I'm like, okay. And she said, well, it's probably just something that, just a fluke. Take some vitamin B. Vitamin B is really good about getting nerve conditions under control. Okay, I'll get some vitamin B. Went to the local pharmacy, got my vitamin B, was taking, I can't remember how much I was taking, but I'm taking that. And a week later, my fingertips started to tingle. And it felt so weird that it's just like the tingling on the tips. And I'm thinking, gosh, with the manicure, they do massage your fingers too, but what's the odds that, they hit a nerve in your foot and in your hand? I don't know what's going on. So I go back to my doctor and I let her know, like, hey, it's happening in my hands too. And she's like, up the vitamin B dose. Okay, you want me to up the vitamin B dose? And she's like, yeah, just up your vitamin B dose, let's just wait and see what happens. And I'm like, gosh, it's almost been 3 weeks now. I really don't want to have to take more vitamins considering I don't know what's wrong. And she goes, well, not in a mean way, but what do you suggest that I do? And I go, you suggest what I should do. Is there someone else that I need to go and talk to or something so they can figure out what's going on? She said, sure, let me get one of my colleagues. He's a neurologist, and he's awesome. And, neurologists specialize in nerve conditions or nerve damage. I'm like, okay, cool. I got in a week later. This time I'm still going about my daily life, didn't think anything, besides this tingling and numbness was going on. I go in to see the neurologist. I explained to him what was going on, explained to him what happened, explained to him what my general practitioner was having me doing. And he's looking at me a little puzzled. When you go to these specialists, sometimes it can be intimidating. But he was so sweet. He said, okay, Miss Johnson, he goes, well, I could be with your general practitioner and I can say up your vitamin B dose, because yes, that is true. Vitamin B does help with nerve conditions. He said, we can do that, or we can be aggressive. He said, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? I said, I want to be as aggressive as possible. Something is not right. It's not a B deficiency. There's something is not right in my body. It doesn't feel right. I can feel it, deep down. Something's not right. I know my body. And he said, okay, well, how aggressive do you want to be? And I looked at him in his eye and I said, I want you to be as aggressive as possible. If it means running every test known to mankind in the medical world under you, I want it done, because something's not right, and I can't settle on just vitamin B. And he said, okay, if that's what you want, let's do it. He said, how fast do you want to do this? As fast as soon as you can get me in. No more than a few hours later, after leaving his doctor's appointment, his nurse calls me and she's like, hey, LaKesha, you're scheduled at the hospital. You need to be there in 4 or 5 days, like the next following week. We have you scheduled for a battery of tests. Wear something comfortable. You'll be there between 8 and 10 hours. I said, wow, this man's good. He took it serious, wow, felt pretty good about that. So going to the hospital, long story short, I had everything from an MRI on my brain, an MRI on my spine. I had CT scans done on my brain. I had probe brain tests, and forgive me for not knowing the medical terms, where they put these probes on your scalp and they make you watch the screen. They make you watch this ball bouncing, flashing lights, and they're measuring brain waves and brain activity. I had a battery of eye tests and drops in my eyes and dilating of my eyes. I even had a spinal tap. It was pretty scary. This guy wasn't playing. When I said run every test, he ran every test. A lot of those tests, it took a long time, but I felt comfortable knowing that, he was listening to me, and he wanted to be as aggressive and be pretty serious about this, because, no one knows your body like you do. So I was glad that he actually listened to me. No more than a few days later, probably about 5 days later, he calls me into his office. And he sits me down and he said, okay, LaKesha. I go in by myself because I'm not thinking anything's going to be horribly wrong, And I go in and he said, I noticed a year ago you had a CT scan, or MRI it was, an MRI done of your ear. And I go, yeah, I was having some troubles about a year or so ago with it. It sounded as if I was underwater at all times, kind of like you put a glass to your ear, and it just sounded like that all the time. And I was going to an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they were trying to figure out what was going on. Long story short, they pretty much, in so many words, told me that I was probably insane and it was going to go away because they couldn't find anything wrong. And he did do an MRI, but couldn't find anything in the ear canal or anything that would give you the answers to why I was having these weird symptoms. He said, well, did he tell you he found something on your MRI? No. What do you mean he found something on my MRI? He goes, well, he probably didn't say anything because it wasn't in the realm of the ear canal that he was looking at. When they took the picture of your MRI, it actually took a slight picture of your ear, or of your brain. And I go, okay. And he goes, did he tell you that there's a lesion on your brain? And when he said that, the world stopped for me. What? a lesion. So this doctor knew something was wrong with me and didn't say anything. And, he's trying to defend him as much as he can. He goes, I can't tell you why he didn't tell you, because as a doctor, as a physician, it's our duty to let you know of anything that we may find, even if it has nothing to do what we're looking for. He goes, and I apologize for that. He said, but you do have a lesion, a small lesion on your brain. It's probably a little less than 1 millimeter. But again, I'm not hearing any of that, and I'm thinking, I have a brain tumor, I have a brain cancer, oh my gosh. I go, am I gonna die? What does this mean? And my mind is going a mile a minute, literally a mile a minute. I don't know what to think. I'm here by myself. I don't even want to cry. I'm pissed. What do you mean? What's happening? He's like, hey, calm down, LaKesha, calm down, calm down. It's not a brain tumor. Okay, so what's a lesion? And he goes, well, this lesion is associated with autoimmune disease. What? I have AIDS? How did I get AIDS? My brain, I don't know where I was at that moment, but he said autoimmune deficiency. And I'm thinking AIDS. I have AIDS. I've never done drugs. I've never shot up drugs. I've never slept around. I don't understand what's going on. How the hell did I catch AIDS? I've never had a blood transfusion. My mind is going. He's like, calm down, calm down, calm down, LaKesha. And he kind of chuckles and he's like, you don't have AIDS, sweetie. And I go, huh? And he said, it's an autoimmune disease, not an acquired immune deficiency syndrome. I'm like, okay, whew. And I kind of chuckle a little like, whew, gosh, I done been through in the last 5 minutes of dying of a brain tumor to having AIDS, and I don't have any one of them. I mean, it's not funny, but it just had to be there. It's a relief a little. I hate it is. It's a relief to know that you don't have those things, because anything is devastating that's foreign to your body. And he said, okay, LaKesha, here's a list of autoimmune diseases that you can have. And that can include lupus, and that can include ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a host of autoimmune diseases that you can have. He goes, I want you to go home. I'm waiting on a few more tests to come back. He said, don't take any more vitamin B. You are absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong with your nerves in that sense of nerve damage. He said, but I want you to go home. I should get the rest of your test results back within a couple more days. I don't want you to stress about it, but I did want you to know that, we do believe that you have an autoimmune disease. And I said, okay. I go home, I tell my husband, and I don't know what this means. I don't want to tell him or my family, because there's no answers really. You can't answer questions that you don't know yourself. So I did the one thing that he told me not to do. He's like, don't go on the internet. I don't want you to search or Google or anything about autoimmune diseases, because it's going to scare the crap out of you. Well, when someone tells you not to do something like a little kid, you do it anyway. And I went out there and I researched, and we're going through the list, my husband and I'm like, okay, I don't have ALS, I don't have lupus because I don't have those symptoms. I don't have this, I don't have those symptoms. And one of them that came up was multiple sclerosis. And I read the description, and I told him, we both looked at it and we're like, nah, it's not that. It's it's not going to be that, or I hope it's not that. And I don't know what I'm doing. Within probably 2 weeks time, I started experiencing some dizziness, and my right leg started to go numb. So immediately I go back into the doctor and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, got your test results, got everything. He goes, we're going to classify you under that you probably have MS. So in your file, it's going to say multiple sclerosis probable. Again, my world stopped. I didn't have my husband come with me because, we have to work. I'm not thinking it's going to be anything serious or anything like that. Didn't have anyone come with me, and he's telling me this. And I go, okay, so what does that mean? And he's like, well, multiple sclerosis, he explained to me what it is. It's an autoimmune disease where your body's own immune system, the immune system that's supposed to protect against, invaders, I like to call them, into your body. He said, well, your immune system is not only attacking the invaders like it should be, but it's also attacking the good, healthy tissue that surrounds your nerves. It's called the myelin, and I'm just going to put it in layman's terms, as I like to say, as normal people society terms. Picture your nerve as your arm, and your skin is the protecting coating over your bones. Well, my immune system is now eating away at the skin, exposing the bone. And when your bone is exposed, again, this is totally not scientific way of saying this, but when your bone's exposed, it causes issues. So what's happening is when the myelin or protective coating is affected on my nerve, when your brain sends the signals down through your nerve to do things like move here, feel this, or whatever the case may be, the message gets distorted, and so it's not flowing through the way it should be. And he said that will explain the tingly, because it's in your central nervous system, and your central nervous system controls your eyes, your optic nerves, and your extremities, and also in your spine. And he goes, I also need to tell you that all your MRI results came back. Not only do you have the one lesion that was there a year ago, it's still there, but you have several other lesions in your brain, and you also have maybe about 5 or 6 lesions that we can see on your spine. Wow, I have MS. I could only think about that commercial where there's a middle-aged woman. I don't even want to call her middle-aged, because heck, she's about the same age as me on the commercial, probably in her early 30s. She's got about like a 5 or 6-year-old little girl, and she's walking down the street with this little girl, and she's in a walker, and she's walking really slow. I'm going to be crippled. This time I don't have a son yet. It's just my husband and I. We've been married. I'm going to end up in a wheelchair. I'm going to end up in a walker. I want to be crippled. I'm 27 years old. The nurse is like, is everything okay, LaKesha? No, I'm fine. I didn't cry in the office. I don't think it hit me yet. Everything's running through my mind, and I can hear that commercial on the radio where the little kids are saying, my mommy has multiple sclerosis, and I can't say sclerosis the correct way. And at that moment, I hated that commercial. I hated it. Hated hearing anything about these little kids trying to say that, because they're talking about me. I get in the car, and I broke down. I had to drive home. I'm about 2 and 3 miles away from my house. And I'm just bawling, and I pull over, and I'm just crying. And I get home, and my husband gets home from work, and I tell him, and we're just crying and holding each other. And what does this mean? What does this mean for me? And what does this mean? It's not fair. How did I get this? How do I stop it? For everything that we researched, there's no cure. There's only disease-modifying drugs, which I like to call huge band-aids, that can get your immune system down to where it won't attack the things that it's not supposed to attack. There's drugs out there that will help you minimize what they call flares or episodes. Telling my husband was probably the worst thing that anybody could ever experience. It was devastating to me. More devastating to even learn that I had it. When my husband and I started dating in high school, I learned that his father was sick. And he told me that his father had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is an autoimmune disease, totally different from multiple sclerosis, but it affects your muscles, and your organs are muscles, and there's no cure for that, and it's a very debilitating disease that actually can take your life. My husband spent his teenage years watching his father being taken away from him from a disease that nobody could help. He died in 1998 when we were 18 years old, in October, right after we graduated high school. It was hard. It was really hard. He still takes it hard as his dad. And now, here I am, at 27, probably delivering the second worst news to my husband, that his wife life is being altered by a disease that has no cure. Call me selfish. Call me whatever you want. But I gave him an out. And I said, if you don't want to stay with me, I understand. Because no person should have to live through horrible diseases from two of the most people that you love most in this world. Your dad, and now your wife. He hugged me and he said, I'm not going anywhere. There's sickness and health, remember? We're gonna beat this. You're not gonna end up like my dad, okay? I said, okay. But we don't know. Sorry. I scheduled another appointment with the doctor neurologist the next week, and I go in and what do we need to do? What drugs are out there? What do I need to do? Let's get this started. I don't want to wait. And he goes, you don't want, no, I don't want to wait for another episode. I don't want to wait for another flare. I don't want to wait for anything else. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? So he said, okay, we're going to start you on a drug called Copaxone. Copaxone, again, is a disease modifying drug. It has all these chemical compound makeups that will, go in and halt your disease and make it quiet. So I got on that, and it's a self-injection. I had a nurse come out, and she had to show me how to inject myself at home every single day. Every day, you inject yourself. And I said, if this is the worst of the disease, I'll take it. I'll take it because I not only want to not suffer, I don't want my husband to suffer, and I don't want my family to suffer, because what a lot of people don't realize, when someone is sick with something so devastating, it's not just their disease. It's not just my disease. It's not just LaKesha who has disease. It's now my husband, wife who has a disease. It's now my mother's daughter. It's now my sister's sisters, and now my friends who, we all live through this together. And it's amazing the support system that I have, but it's not just my disease. So I go on Copaxone. I was on it for almost 2 years, and I decided, my husband and I, one of the things that we've always wanted was to have a family. We're a young married couple, we want to have a family. I switched neurologists to someone who was more, she lived and breathed MS, as like I like to say, and she's my neurologist to this day, and she's absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I see her, and she goes, LaKesha, I'm not going to stop you from having a baby. Some neurologists will tell you not to. And she goes, I'm not one of those. She goes, I believe that, don't halt your life. Live your life to the fullest. Live every day, as if you don't have this disease. And promise me that you won't make this disease become your life. It will try to destroy you. It will try to take over. But we're not going to let it. As long as I am your doctor, as long as I am here on this earth, we will not let it. Oh, and I felt so good. So we did. We started a family, got pregnant. Everything was going good. I had a little flare when I was pregnant, but it wasn't something that's uncontrolled. I decided not to do any steroids to get the inflammation down from the lesions and everything, but everything was going good. We did decide after the pregnancy that the Copaxone was not going to be strong enough for it, so I went on a different drug. When I rebiff, I started having, I'm trying to condense it down as much as possible. When I rebiff, that drug wasn't happening. Start relapsing. Went on another drug, a beta-seron. That drug was not helping. I was relapsing on that drug. And I'm talking about anything from blindness. I had weakness in my extremities. Sometimes I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit up straight. I remember for about a month, I literally had to lay flat 24/7 with a baby. Literally laying flat because it was like I had vertigo symptoms. I've had numbness and tingling. I've had, gosh, you name it, I've had it. I've had optic neuritis where your eye jiggles and you get dizzy from, moving around too fast, or you can't stand, or you can't, I've had just countless numbers of episodes. And for me, that means I have relapsing remitting MS, which I like to call the first stage of MS, which is where I would hope to stay until a cure is found or until something is found. A relapsing remitting means my body goes into an episode and then it's able to remission. I'm able to, it's called my repair mechanism kicks in, and it kind of kicks butt along with steroids and all other drugs that you can take to get it under control. But right now I'm faced with probably the biggest dilemma of this disease ever. Um, After Rebiff, I went on Tysabri. So I did try that drug, which is a very scary drug because it can cause you to have a brain infection, which is only one of two things. It's either life-threatening brain infection or it's a very disabling brain infection. I'm talking about like vegetable state type thing, but I went on it because there was nothing else I could do. The time I was going, I consult with doctors in Chicago at Rush University Medical Clinic in their MS clinic, and then also at Northwestern. Um, my doctor and I decided, she decided actually that, I'm not one of those patients that's by the book. I really am one in a million. None of these drugs are working. They haven't seen a case like me, but I'm able to snap back and relapse. My clinical, as the specialist at Northwestern said, by looking at my file, he was expecting to see someone totally different than the person that was standing in front of him. He said, the person in this file that your doctor sent over, that Dr. Lobeck, who they worked with some research 4 years ago, but he said that person is not the same you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, this person that's clinically on this paper, you should not be able to walk. You should not be able to see. You should not be standing, smiling in front of me. How is this possible? And I told him, it's all God. I don't have control. It's all God. And it is. But I got to do my part too. So long story short, I keep saying that, sorry. I then went on monthly, it was every 3 months, I was doing an injection of chemotherapy, Cytoxin. I know you're probably thinking chemotherapy. Well, chemotherapy is an immune suppressor drug. So when you think of it, if you can suppress my immune system, from the good or bad, just suppress it to a state to where it's not attacking and even protecting, but that's the risk you take, that it's not attacking, then it won't cause more lesions or more flares or episodes with my MS. Okay, cool. So I was doing that for every other month for 3 months. Then I started relapsing again. So we go back to the other doctor specialist. Hey, what do we do? We tried all these drugs. There's nothing strong enough out there for her. What do we do? And he goes, up it. Let's do it every month instead of every other month. So I'm like, okay. So I do 1 gram of Cytoxin. I did that for 3 months and I started relapsing again. Go back to the specialist, my doctor here, the neurologist there. They're on the phone. They're conference call. I'm going back and forth to Chicago. And they said, you know what? Let's mix in steroids with it. So let's give her 1 gram of steroids with the 1 gram of chemotherapy. Okay, cool. If this is what it takes to get my MS quiet, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. There are risks to every drug. I could go on and on about the risk of the drugs and the drugs I take to counter the other drugs that I take to counter the other drugs I take. It's like a never-ending battle, a circle. The dilemma I come into now is I have had, as of yesterday, 21 treatments of chemotherapy and steroids. I now do it every 4 weeks. I relapsed really bad 2 weeks ago, where some of my episodes, and this is not true for everybody because everyone's MS is different, but I usually have either a brain lesion that's inflamed that's causing issues, or I have maybe 1 or 2 spinal, lesions that are infected, but it's never together. 2 weeks ago, I woke up one morning and both my legs were numb, tingly. I could still walk. I still had muscle control at the time, but I couldn't feel. They do a tuning fork at the doctor where this metal thing and they put it on you. You're supposed to feel vibrating. I couldn't feel anything from belly button down, toes and all, nothing but everything literally from belly button down. I couldn't feel the tuning fork. Not only was that going on, but my optic neuritis, I had double vision. I was going blind, and there's a blind spot in my not the blind spot that you see that everyone has, but a blind spot right in the center of when I look straight in my right eye. I was having dizziness, where just standing or just walking from here to the bathroom, that I was getting dizzy from. So pretty much my entire body was being affected by this huge, ginormous episode, which has never happened. And that is scary because if it's not caught in time, if nothing is done, I will end up in a wheelchair. I could end up blind, and there's no amount of time of when. Could it be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year, 6 months, the rest of my life? We have no idea. Time is not on my side. So we consult with the doctors, and they said, you know what? The only thing that's going to help her, the only thing, there is no drug out there that is strong enough. There is no amount of chemotherapy that we can give her that will shut this immune system down. The only thing that will work is, and apologize if I say this wrong, is a hemotopic. It's an autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplant. Shorter version is called HSTC or HSCT, I apologize. What that is they would take, I'm not taking anybody baby's stem cells or, anything like that. They would take my stem cells out. They would take a few, harvesting them out. They would clean them and they would freeze them. They would give me a high dose of chemotherapy or another type of immunosuppressor drug to suppress my immune system. Once through monitoring and blood work and everything, they know that my immune system is completely wiped out. So I would be like a newborn baby's immune system. Once they know it's completely gone, they will place my stem cells back into my body, give me drugs to help my body create more stem cells. In all of this, the idea is that my body will create a brand new immune system. Yay! Sign me up. Got approved for the transplant. Doctor, no problem getting approved. My history, there's absolutely nothing, nothing wrong with that. Got that all approved. Go through insurance. We kind of knew the first time they were probably going to say no because, it is rarely expensive, rather expensive. They said no the first time, we appealed it. They said no the second time. The first time they appealed it, said, oh, we don't do anything experimental. Second time they said, well, we don't know the effectiveness of this drug long term. So, Dr. Burton, I will say at Northwestern, is the guy who came up with this or collaborated with this procedure. He would actually be the one doing this. It's cutting edge. It's state of the art. It's ready to go. They've tested thousands or hundreds and hundreds of people and it's successful. I'm not saying this is a cure. He's not claiming that this is a cure. What he's saying is this is the only thing that's going to help this young lady. This particular young lady, not everybody else, but for her, it will work. It will either shut down her MS to where it's not affecting for years and years, or it will get it in a more stable environment to where the drugs that are already out there, I'll be able to take those disease modifying drugs and be perfectly fine and just take those for, the rest of my life or whatever have you until a cure is found. That's the thing. I won't be crippled. I won't lose my life. Time's not on my side. I like to tell people that my repair mechanism, just like a car engine, after you run it for so many times, it's gonna give out. And it's not like a car where you can just go and replace the engine or go buy another one. You can't buy another immune system until now. I can get it. I can get this done. So the third time they said no. We go in, we have conference calls. It's myself, the insurance company, Dr. Burt, lawyers, people from their side, and they still said no the third time. After, people are familiar with insurance companies. Once they say no after 3 times, you only have one more or two possible things you can do. One, sue the company. Come on, take on a huge insurance company for this. How much money is that going to take? Or two, you can do an outside review organization where they take your file, they take everything that they have, they send it to someone who is not affiliated with their insurance company, who are another type of medical entity that will review everything, and they have the right to overturn the decision to say yes. Let's say yes, let's say no. Well, they came back and said no. Go back to Northwestern, and I said, okay. They said no. What do we do? And he goes, LaKesha, you need $125,000 to save your life. The hospital doesn't have any research money left to help you pay for this because it is in stage 3, stage 4. It's an FDA approved study. It's an FDA approved, FDA approved to me, meaning, hey, it's ready to go, and I don't know. I'd say they're probably fighting off who's going to pay for this or what pharmaceutical company is going to get to have their name on this. And they forget about the little people that it can help. I said, okay, $125,000. My family and I have been fundraising through fundraisers. We've done barbecue dinner sales, and through people's personal donations that just come to me and just give me money for my cause and hear about my story. And through my high school, we did a 15-year high school reunion benefit where people came from around the states, and they were able to come and spare their time and money. We're now up to about $12,000, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. But it's so far away. This all started in May, April, May. It's now December, and my episodes are almost weekly. I don't know how much time I have before my repair mechanism will stop working. And why you're probably thinking this is so critical. This transplant is only proven so far to work for people who have relapsing remitting MS. If I progress to the next stage of multiple sclerosis, there's hardly any drugs that can help me stay mobile. There's hardly any drugs that'll keep me from a wheelchair. There's hardly any drugs. My son is 4. And I'm stealing his childhood away. I know he tells me, I said, Malachi, what's the one thing that you want for Christmas? And, he wants toys and stuff like any 4-year-old. And he said, I want you to be able to go outside and make a snowman with me and not fall. I want you to be able to ride your bike like we used to. And I said, okay. I don't know how much time I have left before I progress. And in between doing my 4-week treatments, I do have to go in periodically for 3 to 5 days of IV steroids, a gram each, to try to combat this disease as much as I can. And I don't have enough money to get the one thing I know that's going to help me. How can people sit behind computers? How can people say no to the one thing that can change my life for the better? One thing that can save me. The insurance company actually said to me, they don't consider MS that chronic of a disease to need this drastic transplant. And moreover, if you were to get crippled, if you were to become immobile, and I'm not saying immobile is horrible, but I don't want to be immobile. Not when I can help it. Not when we can stop it. But they'll pay for my car to get modified. They will help pay for my house to get modified. They will continually pay for a drug in a treatment plan that's not working. It is costing the insurance company anywhere upwards between $3,000 to $7,000 a month on a drug that's not working. And here's the even more crazy part. The drug that they give me every 4 weeks that they will happily pay for without a doubt is the same drug that they will use in this transplant. But because it has the word transplant, you won't pay for it. I don't understand. It's a one-time thing. This transplant is a one-time, once-in-a-lifetime thing. They pay $125,000. And if all goes good, I don't have to pay anymore. No more monthly costs. Like that, it's not. Small little costs, yeah, but nothing major. So when you add up all 21 of these treatments of pain, let's just give it a number of about $7,000. You've now paid so much more than what the transplant would pay for just a one-time thing. The hospital needs $125,000 up front in order to get this procedure done. Up front. No down payment. No payment arrangements. They need $125,000. Dr. Burt and his crew at Northwestern said if they can find the money, they will help me as much as they can, but their hands are tied too because they're running this research and they need money for the research. So here's where I come out. I'm not usually one to ask people for help. I need your help. I am literally begging for help. Any little amount, anything, no amount's ever too small. Any amount will help me. The money is not going directly to me. This is not a scam. I have a Facebook blog page that's called Johnson's Footprints. And I chose the name Footprints because I believe that in our lives, we intertwine with one another, and through our struggles and through our good times, there's always somebody with you, strangers and family and friends who are right along the side of you, and their footprints are seen in your life. And the number one reason that I chose Footprints is because it reminds me of that poem where the guy's walking in the sand and he looks back over his life, and I'll just try to briefly say it. He looks back over his life and he sees two sets of footprints, and then at certain times in his life he sees one set of footprints, and he said, God, you told me that you were always going to be with me, but why is it in the most difficult times of my life, when I needed you the most, there's only one set of footprints? Why did you leave me? And God replies, during those times I didn't leave you. Those are the times that I carried you. And I honestly believe that. As I look back over my journey's not over. I'm not stopping. I can't give up this fight. I can't give it up for myself. I can't give it up for my family. I can't give it up for my son and my husband. I have to fight. I have to fight. But I need help. I need help to fight. But if you want to follow my story, you're more than welcome to go to Facebook, and the group page is actually called Johnson's Footprints. You'll see my smiley face. I try to smile no matter what. Despite it all, right? My victory is coming. But if you want to donate money, you can give money at any U.S. bank. You walk in, or the teller, or drive-through, and whatever amount you want, say, I need to deposit this money, in the account, coincidentally, is called Johnson's Footprints, and the money will go in there. If you want to mail me something, anything, it could go to P.O. Box 250688, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53222. If you see my family or friends you want to donate money, go right ahead and do so too. I'm not using this money for anything except for this transplant. If you need proof, I will show you all the denial letters. I will show you the contract that's saying how much this procedure is going to cost. I will show you everything that you need to see. On my Facebook page, there's pictures of the contracts and everything. Of course, my address is whited out, but it will show you all that stuff. This is not a scam. I need help. I need help. And I believe that with the community support, with people's support, just getting out there and someone, just one person, can you help me? I also have a GoFundMe page set up. It's GoFund, F-U-N-D, me. Um, it's a fundraising website that's set up. Also, it's under the name of Johnson's Footprints. If you want to donate out there, please feel free to do so. Um, in a little bit, I will be having an Indiegogo account set up as well. Please go out there and feel free to donate as well on there. Um, Find me on Facebook if you have any questions. I prefer that you not go to my personal Facebook page, but you can message me in Johnson's Footprints, and I will more than likely share anything if you want to give me words of wisdom. I like to tell people when they ask me, how can I help? What do you need? And I tell them a prayer and $1. Please help me. Please help me. Save my footprints. Thank you.